Bold and the beautiful. Shocking twist. Electra's the unhinged one, while Dylan stays rational. Bold and the beautiful spoilers stun this week at Electra Forrester's, Linnea Grace behavior. She's given us whiplash, and it has me wondering if she's the crazy one and Melissa Dillon, Sydney Bullock, is the one who's actually sane. We're going to talk about Electra's erratic behavior that varies depending on who's in the room with her. Is Melissa Dillon totally innocent? And does Electra have some issues that need to be addressed? Electra Forrester's aggressive shift toward Melissa Dillon. I noticed the inconsistency with Electra from the first moment that Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, invited Melissa Dillon to stay in the guest house over his garage. I thought, okay, that seems a little aggro, but it's a one-off. And then this week, it happened again and was much more aggressive. I'm really starting to question what's going on with Electra. Earlier this month, back around the January 1st and 2nd episodes, after Will offered Dylan a place to stay, she thanked him and Electra. She was so grateful. She's been living in her car, the poor girl's homeless. Dylan nicely told Electra, "Thank you so much," and said that she's glad Electra has found such a nice guy like Will. When Dylan was sharing her story with Will and Electra, they told Dylan she came to the right people because they really care. These super rich people in Malibu really care. But then other things started coming out. Is Melissa Dillon overstepping her bounds at Will Spencer's guest house? When Will first offered Dylan the spare room, she initially turned him down. If you remember, she said she wouldn't be comfortable staying there unless Electra was also there. Electra, by the way, is a whole grown adult that Ivy Forrester, Ashley Brewer, has told shouldn't be staying over at Will's so much, as if Ivy has any room to talk. Anyway, when Dylan said she wouldn't be comfortable unless Electra was there, to me that seemed very considerate and respectful. She was staying in her lane. Even if Dylan thinks Will's hot, she didn't jump at the chance to be near him without his girlfriend around. When they showed Dylan the room over the garage, she was so happy. She did hug Will in gratitude, but Electra was right there, and it was totally innocent. Then, when Will left to go surfing, and it was just Dylan alone with Electra, she suddenly changed her tune. Electra's two-faced attitude toward the new guest. With Will listening in, Electra says, "We need to help Dylan. She's my friend." But then, with Will gone, things absolutely change with her attitude. Right off the bat, Dylan told Electra that Will's so kind for letting her stay there. Instead of agreeing, Electra got aggressive right away. She told Dylan she can't stay there for very long because even kind hosts don't want house guests around that much. To be clear, Electra doesn't live there and it's not her house. Will offered Dylan a place to stay and never mentioned a time frame. He just wanted her to have a chance to get her financial footing, get a job and find a place to live. Electra acted like they were so generous and really wanted to help Dylan, but the second Will was gone, Electra turned on her. Electra also said that day, Will wants respect. I don't remember him saying that to Dylan as a condition of her moving in. That was just Electra's build-up to say the next thing, which was to respect Will and respect that he's her boyfriend. That's the point she wanted to get to with the respect comment. I'm pretty sure Dylan has been mostly respectful at every turn. Bold and the beautiful. Is Melissa Dillon checking out Will Spencer? To be fair, there's a little more to it. We have seen her check out Will, watching him when he was showering outside, and she kind of looked at him on the most recent episode while he was sleeping on the sofa. You could take it as a creeper, or you could take it as, oh, she's glad he's getting some sleep. He's such a nice guy. I'm not saying Dylan is 100% innocent, but come on. How can you not glance at a hot guy in an outdoor shower? I live near the beach. You look. I will say that her watching Will nap was borderline for me. However, Electra doesn't know about any of that stuff. She doesn't know that Dylan looked at him in the shower or watched him sleep. As far as Dylan's behavior has been when Electra's been around, it's all been totally innocent. Anything Electra says to Dylan has nothing to do with her checking out Will because she never did it in front of Electra. The tension rises during an innocent dinner on Bold and the Beautiful. Fast forward to this week. Dylan is doing what she said she would. She is looking for a job all the time so that she can find a new place to live and get back on her feet financially. She was doing Will and Electra's laundry to be helpful. Will said she didn't have to do it, but Dylan insisted she wanted to be useful. Will insisted that Dylan sit down and eat the chicken he'd cooked since Electra was stuck at work. At first, Dylan said no, but Will insisted that Dylan should sit down and eat with him. So she did. Again, it was all very innocent. I didn't feel a flirty vibe, it was a friendly vibe. Meanwhile, Electra was at work telling Ivy Forrester she felt bad that Will would be eating dinner alone. Dylan behaved at dinner. She didn't cross a line. She just added some hot sauce and ate. She doesn't have a job or any money, and I don't even know where she's getting food from. When you're staying at someone's house and they have dinner, they usually offer you at least leftovers. Bold and the Beautiful. Electra's Paranoia and the Shadow of Luna Nozoa. Talking to Ivy, Electra said what a good person Dylan is and what a good friend she is to her. It all seemed very sweet, almost too sweet if I'm being honest. Both Steffi Forrester, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, and Ivy Forrester mentioned something about Dylan staying at Will's. Ivy said it was inappropriate, and Steffi said once Dylan got on her feet and moved out, Electra could have her boyfriend all to herself. Maybe that's what triggered her and got her all worked up, because she went absolutely nuts on Dylan out of nowhere and for no good reason. Will mentioned to Electra that Dylan had some of the chicken he cooked, and Electra made a remark to Will about him replacing her. He promised to cook for Electra when she's back from her business trip on Bold and the Beautiful. Then she told Will that she didn't want Dylan overstepping and getting too comfortable, and then told Will she'd handle her. Handle what? Will asked Dylan to sit down and share food, and she said no initially until he insisted in his own house. Bold and the Beautiful. The confrontation at Forrester Creations. Electra texted Dylan and told her, "Come up to Forrester," and then said she knows about last night, as if something had gone on between Dylan and Will. Dylan told the truth about Will insisting she eat with him. Electra insisted Dylan did the wrong thing and should have told Will no because it was inappropriate. Dylan did say no, even if she didn't use the word inappropriate. Electra then said, "It better never happen again." Dylan kind of panicked and said she'll move out as fast as she can. What I see is that Electra is sugary sweet and acts like the best friend in the world to Dylan when she's talking to anybody else. But when Electra is alone with Dylan, it seems like she's low-key bullying a homeless girl. Why is she doing back to Luna Nozoa, Lisa Yamada. I think Electra is so paranoid about Will's now-dead pregnant psycho-stalker that she's seeing the worst any time she looks at Dylan. It almost seems like Electra's punishing Dylan because she's so salty about Luna. Is Electra Forrester unhinged, or is Melissa Dylan a threat on Bold and the Beautiful? I can excuse some of Electra's behavior because Luna was tormenting Will, but I don't know how Electra picking on an innocent homeless girl is appropriate. I will say Dylan's sweetness has made me suspicious about her. She may really be up to no good. Maybe she is stalking Will. Or maybe Dylan's just some poor girl with bad luck being terrorized by a rich girl like Electra, who's never been broke for a minute of her life and is being unreasonable and unhinged. So the question is, which one's the crazy one? The sun-soaked beaches of Malibu are usually the backdrop for romance. But this week on The Bold and the Beautiful, they become a breeding ground for psychological warfare. In a twist that has set social media ablaze, the power dynamic between Electra Forrester and the seemingly fragile Dylan has shifted in a way no one saw coming. For weeks, viewers have been waiting for the other shoe to drop with Dylan. Given her history, being the driver in the accidental hit-and-run that killed the villainous Luna Nozoa and her subsequent homelessness, fans were braced for her to become the next stalker trope. But as of the January 23rd, 2026 episode, the narrative has flipped. It isn't Dylan who's acting like a loose cannon, it's Electra. Hashtag the chicken dinner, heard round the world. The catalyst for this sudden descent into unhinged territory was remarkably domestic, a plate of teriyaki chicken. While Electra was stuck working late at Forrester Creations, Well, Spencer did what any hospitable host would do. He invited their house guest, Dylan, to sit down and eat the dinner he had prepared. Dylan's response? Perfectly rational. She initially declined, not wanting to overstep, but eventually gave in to Will's insistence. There were no candles, no romantic music, and no devious plots. Just two friends sharing a meal while Dylan folded laundry as a thank you for her stay. Electra's transformation, from friend to bully? When Electra found out, her reaction was anything but rational. Instead of being grateful that her friend was being looked after, she went into a defensive spiral. The public persona, to Ivy and Steffi, Electra is the saintly benefactor, telling everyone how much she wants to help Dylan get on her feet. The private reality, the moment she gets Dylan alone, the sugary sweet exterior vanishes. Electra has begun handling Dylan with a cold, territorial aggression that borders on emotional abuse. She cornered Dylan at Forrester Creations, essentially gaslighting her by claiming that eating dinner with Will was inappropriate and a violation of boundaries that Dylan had actually tried to respect until pushed back. Hashtag is Electra haunted by the ghost of Luna? To understand why Electra is suddenly acting like a mean girl, we have to look at her trauma. She was nearly destroyed by Luna Nozawa, who manipulated Will and infiltrated their lives with a level of sociopathy rarely seen even by soap standards. I think Electra is projecting her fear of Luna onto Dylan, says one fan on X, formerly Twitter. She sees any woman near Will as a threat, but in doing so, she's becoming the very villain she fears. By trying to protect her relationship from a new Luna, Electra is ironically mimicking Luna's controlling and paranoid behavior. She's demanding respect for Will's house, a house she doesn't even live in, and treating a girl who is recently living in her car like a predator. Hashtag Dylan, the rational victim, or master manipulator. While the audience is currently siding with Dylan, calling Electra obnoxious and a jealous shrew on Reddit, there is still a shadow of doubt. The shower incident. It's true that Dylan was caught creeping on Will while he used the outdoor shower. The repayment. Dylan has made vague offers to repay Will's kindness in non-monetary terms. However, in every face-to-face confrontation with Electra, Dylan has been the voice of reason. She has offered to move out immediately to keep the peace and has remained calm while Electra barked orders at her. In the world of B&B, the person screaming is usually the one losing their mind, and right now that person is Electra Forrester. Hashtag what's next? A beach house blowout? The drama is only going to escalate as we head into the week of January 26th to 30th. With Electra scheduled to leave on a business trip, the stage is set for a disaster. The absence. With Electra away, Will and Dylan will be alone at the beach house. The temptation. Early spoilers suggest Dylan and will get cozy on the couch, nearly sharing a kiss. The witness. Ivy Forrester reportedly sees this close moment from outside. If Ivy tells Electra, it will likely be the final push that sends Electra over the edge. We could be looking at a full-blown Forrester versus Spencer fallout, with RJ Forrester waiting in the wings to pick up the pieces of Electra's broken heart or her broken mind. The sun-soaked beaches of Malibu are usually the backdrop for romance. But this week on The Bold and the Beautiful, they've become a breeding ground for psychological warfare. In a twist that has set social media ablaze, the power dynamic between Electra Forrester and the seemingly fragile Dylan has shifted in a way no one saw coming. For weeks, viewers have been waiting for the other shoe to drop with Dylan. Given her history, being the driver in the accidental hit-and-run that killed the villainous Luna Nozawa and her subsequent homelessness, fans were braced for her to become the next stalker trope. But as of the January 23rd, 2026 episode, the narrative has flipped. It isn't Dylan who's acting like a loose cannon, it's Electra. Hashtag the chicken dinner, heard round the world. The catalyst for this sudden descent into unhinged territory was remarkably domestic. A plate of teriyaki chicken. While Electra was stuck working late at Forrester Creations, Spencer did what any hospitable host would do. He invited their house guest, Dylan, to sit down and eat the dinner he had prepared. Dylan's response? Perfectly rational. She initially declined, not wanting to overstep, but eventually gave in to Will's insistence. There were no candles, no romantic music, and no devious plots. Just two friends sharing a meal while Dylan folded laundry as a thank you for her stay. Electra's transformation, from friend to bully? When Electra found out, her reaction was anything but rational. Instead of being grateful that her friend was being looked after, she went into a defensive spiral. The public persona, to Ivy and Steffi, Electra is the saintly benefactor, telling everyone how much she wants to help Dylan get on her feet. The private reality, the moment she gets Dylan alone, the sugary sweet exterior vanishes. Electra has begun handling Dylan with a cold, territorial aggression that borders on emotional abuse. She cornered Dylan at Forrester Creations, essentially gaslighting her by claiming that eating dinner with Will was inappropriate and a violation of boundaries that Dylan had actually tried to respect until Will pushed back. Hashtag is Electra haunted by the ghost of Luna? To understand why Electra is suddenly acting like a mean girl, we have to look at her trauma. She was nearly destroyed by Luna, and the beautiful are reeling today as the show appears to flip one of its most talked about dynamics completely on its head. For weeks, viewers were convinced they knew exactly who the danger was. All signs pointed to Dylan as the unstable, manipulative force circling Electra and quietly wreaking havoc in the lives of those around her. But in a heartbreaking and deeply unsettling twist, the narrative is shifting, and it's Electra who now seems to be unraveling, while Dylan emerges as the calmer, more rational presence. It's a turn no one wanted, no one expected, and one that has left fans stunned, saddened, and more than a little disturbed. The story we thought we were watching. From the beginning, Dylan was framed as a walking red flag. The intense stares, the carefully chosen words, the way she seemed to insert herself into situations that didn't involve her, especially when Electra and Will were concerned. Viewers clocked it instantly. Social media buzzed with theories painting Dylan as obsessive, manipulative, and potentially dangerous. Electra, by contrast, was positioned as the vulnerable one. Emotional, yes, but understandably so. She was dealing with romantic confusion, mounting pressure from her family, and the constant feeling that someone was working against her behind the scenes. Her reactions, while intense, felt rooted in fear and insecurity. Fans rallied around her, convinced she was being gaslit and pushed to the edge. But now, everything feels different. Cracks in Electra's armor. In recent episodes, something has shifted in Electra, and not subtly. Her emotional responses have grown sharper, more erratic, and increasingly disproportionate to the situations at hand. Conversations escalate without warning. Accusations fly without proof. Even those closest to her seem caught off guard by how quickly she jumps from concern to full-blown confrontation. What makes this development so sad is that it doesn't feel like a sudden personality change. It feels like a slow burn finally reaching its breaking point. Electra is no longer reacting to events. She's anticipating betrayal everywhere she looks. Every glance becomes a threat. Every conversation sounds like a secret being kept from her. And when people try to reassure her, she doesn't calm down. She spirals. That's when the word no fan wanted to consider starts creeping in. Unhinged. Dylan's surprising shift into stability. Even more shocking is what's happening on the other side of the equation. Dylan, once seen as the villain in waiting, is behaving with an unexpected level of composure. She's measured. She listens. She doesn't lash out when accused. Instead, she tries to explain herself. In scenes that should have confirmed her guilt, Dylan does the opposite. She de-escalates. She backs away. She even expresses concern for Electra's mental state, not with cruelty or superiority, but with genuine worry. It's deeply unsettling to watch the person we were primed to distrust suddenly become the voice of reason. And that's exactly why this twist hurts so much. Is Electra becoming her own worst enemy? Electra's biggest tragedy right now isn't Dylan. It's the isolation she's creating for herself. Friends who once defended her now exchange worried glances. Loved ones hesitate before speaking, unsure which version of Electra they'll get. Even Will, who has tried repeatedly to stand by her, seems unsure how to reach her anymore. Every attempt to help is met with suspicion. Every disagreement becomes evidence of betrayal. And instead of bringing people closer, Electra's fear is pushing them further away. What's most heartbreaking is that her pain is real. Her emotions aren't fake, but they're no longer grounded in reality, and that's what makes this storyline so devastating to watch. The show's most uncomfortable question. The bold and the beautiful has never shied away from emotional extremes. But this arc raises a deeply uncomfortable question. What happens when the person we're rooting for becomes the danger? The show seems to be asking viewers to reconsider everything they thought they knew. Was Dylan truly manipulative? Or was she responding to Electra's instability all along? Were those creepy moments actually caution and concern, misread through Electra's increasingly distorted lens? It's not a clean twist. There's no clear hero or villain here. Just two women caught in a psychological collision, and the fallout is painful to watch. A very sad reflection of reality. What makes this storyline hit so hard is how real it feels. Mental and emotional breakdowns don't always look dramatic or obvious at first. They often masquerade as passion, loyalty, or justified anger, until suddenly they're impossible to ignore. Electra isn't portrayed as evil. She's portrayed as overwhelmed, unsupported, and slowly losing control of her perceptions. And that's what makes today's development so sad. This isn't a fall from grace. It's a quiet, frightening unraveling. Meanwhile, Dylan's rationality doesn't feel triumphant. It feels tragic in its own way, as if she's watching something she can't stop, even as she's blamed for it. Fans react with shock and heartbreak. Online reactions have been swift and emotional. Many fans admit they feel betrayed, not by the characters but by their own assumptions. "I defended Electra so hard," one viewer wrote. "Now I don't even recognize her." Others are struggling with the moral complexity. "I still don't trust Dylan completely," another fan posted, "but Electra scares me right now." That discomfort is exactly what the show seems to be aiming for. Where does this leave everyone? If this trajectory continues, the consequences could be devastating. Electra risks losing not just her relationships, but her sense of self. Dylan, despite staying rational, may still end up paying the price for a breakdown she didn't cause. And for Will, stuck in the middle, the emotional toll may soon become unbearable. Final thoughts. A twist that hurts because it works. Today's very sad news isn't about a shocking death or explosive reveal. It's about something quieter and more painful. Watching a beloved character lose her grip while the presumed villain steps into clarity. The bold and the beautiful has delivered a twist that challenges loyalty, empathy, and perception. Electra's unraveling and Dylan's unexpected stability force viewers to sit with an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the real danger isn't the person we fear, but the pain we refuse to see. That discomfort is exactly what the show seems to be aiming for. Where does this leave everyone? If this trajectory continues, the consequences could be devastating. Electra risks losing not just her relationships, but her sense of self. Dylan, despite staying rational, may still end up paying the price for a breakdown she didn't cause. And for Will, stuck in the middle, the emotional toll may soon become unbearable. Final thoughts. A twist that hurts because it works. Today's very sad news isn't about a shocking death or explosive reveal. It's about something quieter and more painful. Watching a beloved character lose her grip while the presumed villain steps into clarity. The bold and the beautiful has delivered a twist that challenges loyalty, empathy, and perception. Electra's unraveling and Dylan's unexpected stability force viewers to sit with an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the real danger isn't the person we fear, but the pain we refuse to see. Dylan's unexpected stability forced viewers to sit with an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the real turn of events that has fans reeling. The Bold and the Beautiful is heading into darker emotional territory as Electra Forrester undergoes a shocking and aggressive shift in her behavior. One that's now squarely aimed at Melissa Dillon. What once felt like tension simmering beneath the surface has exploded into something far more troubling, and the fallout may be impossible to contain. For weeks, viewers sensed something was off with Electra. The glances lingered too long. Her words carried an edge. Her smiles felt forced. Now, it's painfully clear that Electra isn't just hurting, she's unraveling. And tragically, Melissa Dillon has become the focal point of Electra's growing rage, a change no one wanted to see. Electra Forrester has always been portrayed as passionate, principled, and deeply emotional, but never cruel. That's why her recent transformation has been so devastating to watch. Friends and family who once relied on Electra's compassion are now questioning whether they even recognize her anymore. Her interactions with Melissa Dillon have shifted from guarded to openly hostile. What started as sharp comments and cold dismissals has escalated into confrontational exchanges that feel raw, personal, and alarmingly intense. This isn't just rivalry anymore. This is pain turning into aggression. And the saddest part? Electra doesn't even seem fully aware of how far she's gone. What sparked Electra's aggression? At the heart of this emotional collapse lies a tangled web of betrayal, insecurity, and unresolved heartbreak. Insiders hint that Electra feels replaced, professionally, socially, and perhaps even romantically. Melissa Dillon, whether intentionally or not, has become the embodiment of everything Electra believes she's losing. Melissa's rising influence, her quiet confidence, and her growing presence within the Forrester orbit appear to have struck a nerve. To Electra, Melissa isn't just competition. She's a reminder of failure, of doors closing, of a future slipping away. Rather than confronting those fears head-on, Electra seems to be projecting them outward. And sadly, Melissa is paying the price. Melissa Dillon caught in the crossfire. What makes this storyline even more heartbreaking is Melissa Dillon's position in all of this. She hasn't lashed out. She hasn't retaliated. In fact, Melissa appears genuinely confused and increasingly frightened by Electra's behavior. Sources suggest Melissa has tried to de-escalate the situation more than once, only to be met with sharper words and colder stares. The imbalance is painful to watch. One woman spiraling, another left defenseless. Melissa's silence speaks volumes. She knows something is wrong with Electra, but she also knows that pushing back could make things worse. That fear, walking on eggshells, second-guessing every move, is exactly what makes this development so sad. The Forrester family feels the shift. The Forrester family is no stranger to drama, but even by their standards, Electra's aggressive shift feels different. This isn't strategic. It's emotional, and it's messy. Those closest to Electra are beginning to whisper concerns. Is she burning bridges she'll never be able to rebuild? Is this anger masking something deeper? Depression, grief, or a sense of abandonment she doesn't know how to process? There's a growing sense that Electra is isolating herself, pushing away the very people who could help her heal. And with each tense encounter with Melissa Dillon, that isolation only deepens. From pain to power struggle. One of the most disturbing aspects of the storyline is how quickly pain has turned into a power struggle. Electra's confrontations with Melissa aren't just emotional outbursts. They feel calculated, almost desperate attempts to reclaim control. She interrupts. She undermines. She questions Melissa's motives in front of others. And each time, you can see it in Electra's eyes. This isn't satisfaction, it's survival. That's what makes the situation so tragic. Electra isn't enjoying this aggression. She's using it as armor. And armor, when worn too long, can become a prison. Fans react. shock, sadness, and concern. Unsurprisingly, fans are deeply divided and deeply emotional about Electra's behavior. Longtime viewers who once championed her strength and vulnerability are now expressing sadness, even fear, over where this path may lead. Many are asking the same haunting question: who is going to stop Electra before she goes too far? Others worry about Melissa's safety, emotionally and professionally. The show has made it clear that unchecked aggression doesn't fade quietly. It escalates, and if no one intervenes, the consequences could be devastating for both women. Is redemption still possible? As dark as this storyline has become, there's still a glimmer of hope. The Bold and the Beautiful has a long history of redemption arcs, and Electra Forrester may desperately need one. But redemption requires acknowledgement. It requires Electra to face the truth about her pain instead of weaponizing it. And right now, she seems unwilling or unable to do that. The question isn't whether Electra can change. It's whether she'll realize the cost of not changing before it's too late. A breaking point looms. All signs point to an inevitable breaking point. The tension between Electra and Melissa Dillon is no longer sustainable. Something is going to give, whether it's a public meltdown, a devastating confrontation, or an irreversible mistake. And when that moment comes, the emotional fallout will ripple through every corner of the Forrester world. Because this isn't just about two women at odds. It's about what happens when pain is ignored, when jealousy festers, and when love turns into resentment. Final thoughts. A very sad chapter unfolds. Today's developments mark one of the saddest chapters yet for Electra Forrester. Watching a once empathetic character spiral into aggression is never easy, especially when the damage is so visible and so personal. Melissa Dillon doesn't deserve to be the target of Electra's inner turmoil. And Electra doesn't deserve to lose herself to anger. Yet here we are, standing on the edge of a storyline that promises heartbreak, confrontation, and possibly irreversible loss. As fans, all we can do now is watch and hope that someone reaches Electra before her aggressive shift toward Melissa Dillon becomes the moment that changes everything for the worse. But redemption requires acknowledgement. It requires Electra to face the truth about her pain instead of weaponizing it. And right now, she seems unwilling or unable to do that. The question isn't whether Electra can change. It's whether she'll realize the cost of not changing before it's too late. A breaking point looms. All signs point to an inevitable breaking point. The tension between Electra and Melissa Dillon is no longer sustainable. Something is going to give, whether it's a public meltdown, a devastating confrontation, or an irreversible mistake. And when that moment comes, the emotional fallout will ripple through every corner of the Forrester world. Because this isn't just about two women at odds. It's about what happens when pain is ignored, when jealousy festers, and when love turns into resentment. Final thoughts. A very sad chapter unfolds. Today's developments mark one of the saddest chapters yet for Electra Forrester. Watching a once empathetic character spiral into aggression is never easy, especially when the damage is so visible and so personal. Melissa Dillon doesn't deserve to be the target of Electra's inner turmoil, and Electra doesn't deserve